Hello again and welcome back to my channel. My name is Patrick Allen. I'm a licensed realtor with Keller Williams Southern Arizona. And in today's video, we'll be discussing real estate. My most recent real estate deal was a complete disaster, or at least it could have been. So as a full-time real estate professional, an agent and a manager of two of my own medium-term rental properties, I earn a living in part due to my knowledge of the real estate industry and where it's likely to move next to at any given time. And so last year, when it came time to sell my starter home at a price point well below the median home price in my market of $375,000, I was pretty confident that I was going to get a compelling offer or two. However, due to yet another surge in interest rates that we saw towards the end of 2023, and the biggest collapse in potential buyer demand that we've seen since the great financial crisis almost 15 years ago, I found myself with a stale listing on the market and no offers to consider in months. Today's video is going to dive into what I did next. How much did it cost me to furnish a vacant property into a seasonal rental? How long did the timeline take? And what was the end result? Would it actually be feasible to find one or multiple short-term guest stays to cover the holding costs from January until May? And would I actually be able to sell it for more in the summertime? I think I had the answer to at least one of those questions, and so let's take a look. Now, I've already published a video on how I came to find and purchase my starter home, so if you were curious to find out how that whole story went, I will add a link to the video at the end of this one. But what's important for today's content is to say that we are referencing that starter home that I had purchased way back in 2015. Now, as I was taking on the debt necessary to renovate the 3-unit property, which I purchased in 2021 and currently call home, I knew I had an equity position in that starter home after a full 7-year hold period. And after the historic rise in the cost of debt over the last 2 years, I found myself in exactly that situation where it made sense to try and sell that first one. And so it took until August to get the current tenant out of the home and get it listed on the market for sale, just in time for the mortgage interest rates to hit 8% and to push buyer demand into an early winter hibernation. Now, while our summers are way too hot for many, the winter months are peak season for tourists looking for short-term furnished rental properties to stay in. And so if I could get the property quickly furnished as a rental property in time for the January season, it would be possible to then try to sell it again in the early summer months of May and June. And so in early December, I made the decision to do just that. We'll push just a few more chips onto the table and add a very temporary third rental unit to my local portfolio. The rehab scope of work to get it rent ready was nothing too crazy. Just proactively replacing an old water heater before it actually blew up on me, some small repairs to a couple of exterior gates, and adding an in-home washer and dryer setup was about as much as was necessary to get it up to a reasonable rental standard. Here's a simplified breakdown. Less than $6,000 out of pocket was what it took to update and clean the property, and considering another $2,500 in bedding, towels, and kitchen supplies from Amazon and local big box stores, I feel pretty good about getting the property stabilized at less than $10,000 out of pocket. Now, when you consider the cost of furniture alone, that seems kind of unbelievable. So one hack that I used to help accomplish this is a vendor that I was able to find via an online search that I wanted to give a shout out to in this video. Express Furniture Rental is a company based out of Fresno, California that does high quality furniture rentals on a month-to-month basis, and it fit my purposes pretty exactly. Buying couches, dining room sets, and multiple sets of bedding initially to furnish a short-term rental property can be a massive cash drag on a new listing's performance in the first year of operations. Not to mention the time it would take me to drive all over town and try to source the furniture here locally, as well as to deal with the disposal of the furniture just a few months later. By selecting a medium grade package, which they call More Furniture, I locked in payments of about $425 a month for a 12-piece furniture set, which filled up the living room, dining room, and a full set for one of the property's 3 bedrooms, all for a complete financial commitment less than what I would have likely to pay for a decent couch by itself. And when the agreement timeline is over and I'm finished with the items, I simply call up the company to coordinate a pickup. While the company has not compensated me for this testimonial in any way, I have to say that I've had a pretty good experience with the initial setup with this company and found the furniture itself to be, in all honesty, probably better than what I would have been able to find on my own. So certainly worth checking out if you are design limited like myself and want a simple solution without the full cost of ownership and maintenance of a set of furniture. And so once everything was furnished and ready to list, I began marketing the listing on a staggered basis, listing it first on the medium-term rental marketplace FurnishFinder.com in advance of it actually becoming bookable. It would take me another 2 to 3 weeks to finish the renovations, coordinate a post-rehab cleaning, and scheduling professional photos of the listing before all marketing materials could be pieced together to post on the OTA sites like Airbnb and VRBO. And this is a tip that I picked up from Rob Abasolo's YouTube channel. If you, like I tend to do, market your rental listings to both medium-term and short-term guests simultaneously, you've likely found medium-term guests are often less picky about the specific finishes or whether high-quality professional photos have been taken of a property. They primarily just care about the size and amenities of the home and will likely book a place for a month or more without ever really seeing it. Now, on the other hand, the big OTAs or online travel agencies like Airbnb have an algorithm which gives an SEO boost to newer listings for the first several weeks of it being posted on the website. This is their way of, over the first 2 or 3 weeks of your listing going live, determining the value of your listing compared with other options that are currently on the platform. And therefore, you are incentivized to make sure that everything is 100% marketable before going live on the OTA sites. Now, because I prefer the simplicity of securing a longer, more stable tenant as opposed to a dozen bookings for 3 to 7 days apiece, for a period of about 1 full week, I was fielding applications from both channels simultaneously. I had secured what seemed to be a really solid option to book the home out for the entire 4-month spring season via Furnish Finder, but in no less time than it took me to actually get this video update posted, that tenant has issues paying the rent in February and had vacated the home in the middle of the night within their first month of moving in. And so, we're pivoting back to Airbnb. Now, either way, my income target for this property remains the same. $3,000 per month with utilities included into the rent. Now, whether that be to a single person staying in it for months on end, or simply the net Airbnb income after factoring in the additional expenses for turnover and more regular landscaping. Now, as of publishing this description video, I was able to close out the month of March just about $500 behind what I would have made otherwise. Not bad at all considering the surprise turnover at the start of the month. As a bonus upside, with the extra few 5-star reviews from this now 3rd independent listing that I have on Airbnb, I once again am going to qualify for Superhost status beginning in April after more than a year of not having it. So we'll see how that changes my occupancy and revenue for my duplex's 3rd summertime on the platform. And so I'll be sure to post a final video update later on this summer to see what all of the numbers on this deal look like after I've exited. So I gotta admit, it was a little bit more stressful ride than I would have hoped that it would be, but fortunately, real estate tends to be a very forgiving asset class, so long as you're willing to hold the property for long enough to ride out all of the little speed bumps that you're going to experience along the way. Even when you consider the ugly moments, house hacking can be an excellent way for you newbie investors to get into the game of real estate. I hope that today's video gave you just one more data point to give you the confidence that you'll be able to figure out how to make it work for yourself as well. And so if you found value in hearing how that went, or maybe just how it all went wrong, then feel free to share this video with somebody who might be interested in getting into their first rental property, or for the full story as to why and how I ended up buying that starter home to begin with, you can check out this video here as well. Either way, if you're still hanging out with me at the end of this video, definitely shoot me a message to let me know what your next step is towards achieving financial independence by investing in Tucson real estate. We'll catch you on the next video.